I felt, um, I felt her putting her hands on my shoulders, like facing me, and saying, "I need you to be strong for my boy." And she would have said something like that. We were there for 2 weeks, and that's about how long it took them to find everybody, to find all the bodies. Even though people have tried to explain it to us as best as they can, I don't feel like we still understand it. Our family
Lost the most people.
lost the most people, but also had, some of the worst stories from the hurricane. But everyone was affected somehow. There's been such an outpouring, even from people of other states, sending things, doing things, and it has been amazing. But locally, like what I hear everyone saying and what I've been telling everybody is when this happened, the only way we got through it and got the help we needed as fast as we did was because all of us came together to help each other.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Adrian Butter. Also with me are my wife, Vicki Becker, and Nancy Kasaya. Now, Nancy's husband, Butch, would be up here too, but he's currently in absentia out in the fellowship hall. He's playing head chef for the wonderful meal that was served for our event here today. So we thank Butch for that. The four of us actually are residents of Hilton Head Island, but we are also part-time residents outside of Asheville, North Carolina. So on behalf of all of us and all our event planning group members, as well as our sponsors and the charitable organizations represented here today, I'd like to welcome you all to our event benefiting our Western North Carolina neighbors in Hurricane Helene recovery. We'd especially like to recognize and thank Joe Chappelle, Ron Farsetti, and the Rotary Club of Hilton Head Island, as well as the leadership of Providence Presbyterian Church for their sponsorship and support, which made this event possible. And for those of us gathered in the church and watching our live stream, we'd like to thank you for taking the time to be with us today. It's now been about 6.5 months since Hurricane Helene hit Western North Carolina, and based on the scant media coverage at this point, it's understandable that many folks may believe the aftermath of Hurricane Helene is yesterday's news, that the people of Western North Carolina have recovered, and that it's time to move on. But I can tell all of you, based on what I've witnessed firsthand and heard directly from many of the folks affected, that is definitely not the case. Though the recovery efforts to date have been absolutely phenomenal, in large part due to the fantastic work by grassroots organizations like those we have with us today, an enormous amount of work is yet to be done. In considering the enormity of the recovery effort, the best analogy I've heard came from Amy Ward, the wife of one of our speakers, Jason Ward, from Valley Strong Disaster Relief, where she likened it to having to clear an elephant from your plate. Actually, from what I've witnessed, I'd amend that analogy to be clearing a herd of elephants from your plate. The sad reality is that the timeline to recovery from this tragic event can't be measured in months, but rather years. In fact, thinking about the scope of the recovery effort, it amazes me that these incredible charitable organizations could even figure out where to start, let alone develop a recovery plan. I also truly believe the fantastic results of their work have been possible by two powerful things: the guiding hand of God and the willingness of the folks involved with these organizations to be guided by that hand. Turning attention now to how each of us as individuals can help these organizations, there are three powerful things to consider. The first way would be providing financial support. Recovering from a disaster of such magnitude requires an enormous amount of funding. And while public sector funding plays a major role, it can't provide for complete recovery to make those impacted whole again. It's only through partnership between the public and private sectors that complete recovery can happen, and all of us here play a critical role in fulfilling the private sector financial need. Second way is by providing support via volunteerism. These incredible organizations can have all the money in the world at their disposal, but without committed volunteers to carry out their recovery plans, those funds will just be gathering dust. And after volunteering at one of the Western North Carolina supply distribution centers, my wife Vicki and I, as well as our friends Bob and Nancy Riggs from upstate New York, and one of our event group organizers, Melanie Belker, who are all here with us today, we can all attest to the personal satisfaction you get in helping those impacted, both by providing them with the supplies and support they desperately need, as well as listening to their stories and empathizing with their situations. Final powerful method of support which cannot be underestimated is advocacy. If everyone here would take the stories about the fantastic things these organizations have done and will continue to do in the future and share them with your relatives, friends, neighbors, community organizations, and anyone else within your social circle, it will kick off a chain of grace that knows no boundary. So with that as an introduction, I'd now like to briefly share some information about Helene's impact to Western North Carolina to give everyone some sense as to the enormity of the elephant herd we're facing in recovery. To level set on the reach of Helene's devastation, the next slide illustrates the North Carolina counties receiving federal disaster area declaration after Helene. On this map, the counties with the heaviest cross-hatching were those identified as the ones most impacted. And the next slide shows that all those counties are in the western part of the state. Overall, 25 Western North Carolina counties received major federal disaster area designation shortly after Helene hit. The total area encompassed by those counties is over 10,000 square miles. And as we advance one more slide, that provides some perspective on just how large that area is. Just imagine if the entire state of Massachusetts were destroyed by a natural disaster. or equivalently almost 2 times the area of Connecticut, or 7 times the area of Rhode Island, or even more than 150 times the area of Hilton Head Island. Such widespread devastation was the unfortunate reality of Helene in western North Carolina. The next slide provides some data illustrating just how severely Helene affected areas in western North Carolina. The most reported cause of Helene's devastation was due to severe flooding, with several examples around the Asheville area listed here. Many of you have likely heard about and or seen photos or videos of flood devastation in Asheville's Biltmore Village and River Arts District areas. And these river gauge readings illustrate the reason for that devastation. Overall, these 3 examples show water levels due to Helene in the range of 1.5 times flood stage, ultimately the highest levels ever recorded at these locations. Another lesser reported cause of Helene's devastation was due to extensive landslides and catastrophic debris flows, which resulted from the incredible amount of rainfall, almost 30 inches, dumped across western North Carolina over a very short time period. Based on data reported by the U.S. Geological Survey, there were over 2,000 confirmed landslides caused by Helene's extensive rainfall, with over 1,000 of these causing damage to structures like homes, commercial buildings, barns, etc., and or infrastructure, such as roadways, electric, gas, and cable utilities, etc. Going to the next slide, it shows the catastrophic results across the impacted areas of western North Carolina. First, you have the lives lost, 106 confirmed fatalities, 40% of which occurred in Buncombe County, encompassing Asheville and the surrounding area, and not including approximately 150 persons still listed as missing. You have the lives turned upside down, 126,000 homes destroyed, impacting 200,000 people. And you finally have the financial cost, estimated at $60 billion in damages. The next slide takes a deeper look at the landslides and debris flows caused by Helene and provides landslide location mapping data assembled by the U.S. Geological Survey across several impacted states. Each colored dot here represents a landslide location, and each red dot denotes a landslide location that affected rivers, roads, and or structures. Looking at the next slide, it is apparent from the extent of the shaded area I show that the vast majority of the more than 2,000 landslides impacted western North Carolina. The next slide shows a zoomed-in view of the landslide map to the east and south of Asheville. You've likely heard about some of these towns which faced catastrophic flood damage, places like Swannanoa, Black Mountain, and Chimney Rock near Lake Lure. However, as this map shows, the mountain areas around here also suffered apocalyptic damage from the huge number of landslides and, in many cases, debris flows resulting from Helene's wrath. One reason I'm focusing on this particular area becomes evident in this slide. This is the area where Vicki and I and Nancy and Butch have second homes. And while our neighborhoods were spared, the devastation which occurred and the lives impacted just east of us were truly part of our community. On the next slide, it shows just how close our home is to 3 of the areas in our community which were particularly hard hit. You have Chimney Rock about 12 miles away, and Swannanoa about 5.5 miles away as the crow flies. And an area informally called Craigtown is approximately 7.5 miles away. Craigtown is so named because much of the land in the area has been in the Craig family for generations. Now, the Craigtown area did achieve significant media coverage due to landslide damage, But in reality, what hit Craigtown was a series of 4 particularly devastating debris flows, which claimed 13 of the 42 lives Helene snuffed out in Buncombe County, the county in which our homes are located. To illustrate the impact of these debris flows, the next slide shows views of the Craigtown area before and after Helene hit. The Garin Creek Fire Station and an old Fort Road are being shown as reference points in these 2 images. The extensive dirt-covered area in the after view shows the path of the series of debris flows. To better understand the debris flows which hit Craigtown, the next slide points out some areas in these views on which to focus. The red ovals show before and after views of the gully just above Craigtown. While the before view shows a nicely tree-lined gully, the after view shows a scarred channel completely devoid of trees. All those trees in the circled area and all the way up the mountain were carried down as part of the debris flows. The red rectangle on the top of the after view reveals a small brown dirt line where one of the debris flows originated. From there to where they hit Craigtown is about 2 miles, and the width of the flows which decimated their neighborhood is about 450 feet across. After tearing through Craigtown, the debris flows kept going for more than 10 miles further down the mountain. And finally, to illustrate the destructive force of these debris flows, this slide marks 4 home locations in the before view and how they were impacted in the after view. The home at the top was moved across Old Fort Road, and the other 3 homes were completely destroyed. I truly find the destructive force of the debris flows which caused such devastation to be incomprehensible. So advancing to the final slide, in witnessing the immense destruction caused by Hurricane Helene in Asheville and the surrounding area, Vicki and I feel extremely fortunate that our lives and home were spared. After all, this is in fact our community, and the folks affected are our neighbors, which drives us to give back as much as possible to help them recover. Therefore, Vicki and I would like to issue a financial challenge to all of you here, those viewing our live stream, as well as your social circles. Starting today, for every $1 raised through April 30th for the 3 grassroots charitable organizations here, that's Valley Strong Disaster Relief, FairviewStrong.org, and the Camper Village at Covenant Community Church of Asheville, Vicki and I will match each dollar up to $50,000 for each charity, for a possible total match of up to $150,000 across all 3 organizations. Thank you guys. Thank all you guys, really. Yeah. So if all the folks in our live and remote audiences, including your social circles, collectively managed to donate $50,000 to each of the 3 charitable organizations I mentioned, the total amount raised with matching for each will be $100,000 for a grand total amount raised of $300,000. And knowing the generosity of our audience, I wouldn't be surprised if we surpass that amount. We'll be sure to post updates and final results of the money raised by this challenge for each of the 3 organizations on our Facebook page, from the Lowcountry to the High Country. So please give what you can and spread the word of this challenge so all of us collectively maximize our contribution towards the fine work these organizations are doing and ultimately help clear the elephant herd. With that, I'll turn the program over to our first charitable organization speaker, Corey Wall from FairviewStrong.org. Oh.
What an amazing, wow, thank you guys so much. Whew. Okay, didn't expect that, you guys, so hang in there with me. Obviously very emotional. So, good evening. I just first want to thank you so much for your time and for being here. And I appreciate these few minutes that I have to share something really special and near and dear to my heart. Something I think about every single day. I come to you from Fairview, North Carolina. I'll get it together, you guys. I will. I am born and raised in Fairview, North Carolina, and absolutely love calling it my home. My husband and I began, who's here today, we began in Swannanoa with our lives, and then moved to Fairview because we knew we were going to have kids, and that's where my parents are close to. So, a small mountain town. It's southeast of Asheville, about 15 minutes, where life changed forever on September 27th, 2024. Hurricane Helene didn't just bring a storm, it destroyed bridges and roads. And bridges, roads, trees were carried down rivers, still standing upright. Landslides swallowed homes, families were trapped. And we had no way out, no power, no communication, no way to even call for help. We were cut off from the world. But what happened next is what I want to tell you about tonight. When the dust settled, or should I say, the mud settled, Fairview didn't wait for help to come. I'm sure you guys saw that on your national news resources. Our neighbors became our first responders. Our churches became relief hubs. We drove ATVs through debris just to check on each other. And this is just a little bit of some of the pictures that we've gathered. So, who are we? We are fairviewstrong.org. And I first want to introduce you to Joanne Winkler. If you don't mind standing up, everybody give her a round of applause. This woman helped us put all the paperwork in place and got this 501c3 going. We're so incredibly grateful. And then where this all sparked or ignited is Miss Amy Bertelli. You'll see her with the chicken. She was actually out of town the day of the storm. And so she felt like she needed to do something. So she started a Facebook page, Locals Helping Locals, and she started connecting people. You have a tractor, you need a tractor. Boop. You have a chainsaw, you need a chainsaw. Boop. She did all of that, and it was incredible. And then Phil Troyer, who's a retired Mennonite disaster leader, he has been someone in our community for many, many years, so he knows our neighbors. He joined and connected the lovely Jenny Burnett and Amy Bertelli into what they did. It was a Fairview Town Hall, and that's where I showed up, and Joanne was there to help too. And I saw the burnout. They had been doing this from day one. So I was like, I have a husband who's a police officer, which I'm so grateful for his service. But I've got two little ones that are here in this stage, 5 and 3 at the time, and I had to be a mother, and I couldn't do anything, couldn't connect to the internet, and I felt the vibrations off of our whole community that I needed to do something. So when they did that weeks later, I was able to join, and my husband was able to get off his 16-hour shifts, and I was able to help, and it just felt so good, even though my house was is still kind of messed up from the 2 trees that hit it. I wanted to help our community. So now I get to be great friends with all of these lovely people, and I'm so, so grateful for them. So we all have full-time jobs. And we decided to start this. So it's kind of wild, but we're really, really thankful. We had no money. We started this 501c3. Now what? Well, let's keep doing what Amy was doing and Phil was doing and become the ultimate connectors. So we brought Samaritan's Purse to our table and started bringing them our list, because we had a list of 80 people that need help. And then we had a list of volunteers of 100 people that are ready to help. So we started to connect people, but then we brought in these organizations. Catholic Charities has been at our table, American Red Cross has been at our table, and everybody is starting to help us with our list of people. So I want to tell you a little bit about who we've helped, which I think it's really important for you to understand. So we have a story about Amber, Lynn, Kate, and Annie. So first of all, Amber, right before the storm, had a newborn baby that she had to take to the NICU. Her house is destroyed by a landslide, so she has nowhere to take this baby home to. She thankfully has someone helping her with rent right now, but she is our first priority. But what we've offered her is someone to talk to. We actually answer our phones. We've been keeping in touch with her. We've been letting her know that we are here and we are ready to help her. And then there's Miss Lynn. Things you don't even think about. Cows. I mean, she has a herd of cows and the whole mud field and fence destroyed so the cows could get out. So we helped fence them in, get the mud cleared so we could start grass so they can eat. And then Kate. Kate is someone that lives down a road that just got absolutely destroyed. I'm not talking about like bumpy, it's like culverts and all sorts of nuts. I mean, you can't even imagine it. Well, she had to have gallbladder stone surgery immediately after the storm. And she was terrified of coming up her driveway with all the bumps and things that happen. We were able to help her clear her driveway, and we were able to get her, I think, between 5 and 10 meals from our volunteers, our community, our people that are struggling getting groceries. They went to help her. Then Annie, sorry, I'm not so good with the clicker here. Annie, she was at the beginning of October about to open up an elder care center so they do activities and things, and she was ready, but it flooded and just completely destroyed. We've been helping connect her, get her furniture, get her flooring, get her Samaritan's Purse to help with electric, all sorts of things, and it's just been us that have been merging everybody together. I have many, many more stories I would love to share, but with the honor of time, I'm going to pass that. So our process, our plan, we need the funds to rebuild homes. We started at 23 homes. We realized that's not everybody that came forward, but for us, it's 23 homes on our list that are needed. Now it's down to 15 because they've gotten help elsewhere, which is fantastic. We're so happy. And we also, 3 of those, we were able to get new homes because of our list and our process. But right now, that's what we're focused on, is our 15 folks, our 15 families. And then we'd like to fill in the gaps. Again, I told you we have about 80 people on our list that need some help in different scenarios, roofs, basements. And then from there, we'd like to help rebuild Girton, North Carolina, which is just south of us. That's our neighboring town, so we'd like to start moving into that. Oh, and I skipped the very first step, which I really like to explain, is landslide consult. We have a landslide consultant of the name of Jennifer. She helped a lot in the very beginning and is still helping, but we are going to get these people that have landslides a report so that we know we're building in the correct place, or we shouldn't build at all, because that's the worst thing that can happen because of the stability of the land, and we want them to feel safe when we rebuild these houses. So what this means, buying someone a home, our cost is $200,000, and that's conservative because we are aware that there might be a septic tank or a septic drain field or a well to fix, and hopefully they have gone through the application process and FEMA has granted them just $42,000. So we want to subtract that and take that money to help us. So that's $158,000 times 15 families. We need $2.37 million to get this going and off the ground. We've seen the slow wheels of national aid programs. They take too long, but your help tonight moves fast. 100% of every donation goes directly to Fairview families, not a penny wasted. We aren't taking funds from us. It's literally just giving to our families. So tonight, I am asking you to stand with us. Stand with that young mother that just had a baby in the NICU, waiting for her home to have a safe place to raise her baby. Stand with all the mothers, fathers, children, and elders of Fairview who we refuse to give up. Our mission continues, and with your generosity, your compassion, and your belief in our community, we will rebuild Fairview, family by family, home by home, because we are Fairview Strong. And tonight, you are part of that story too. So everyone has a story of what happened that Friday morning, and we are still hurting. Adrian said it, we're still hurting. And life doesn't stop around you. So thank you. Thank you guys so much for your time. All right, without further ado, you heard from Adrian about the Craigtown family. Right at the top of where the landslides let loose is Swannanoa Mountains, and that's what came into Fairview. And that's actually right where this person that I'm bringing up on stage lived, and it's only 3 miles as the crow flies. So without further ado, someone who's doing some incredible things in Swannanoa, can I say Swannanoa? Swannanoa? We all say different things in our town, but Swannanoa, North Carolina, Jason Ward from Valley Strong.
That was awesome. And that story that she's telling is, I think we could all tell those same stories. There's no shortage of that. But first thing I want to start out with is there's no competition with the nonprofits and everybody that's been involved. It is a team effort, and everybody has just poured in. But my name's Jason Ward. I have lived in the Swannanoa Valley for 43 years, all of my life. It's family to me. It's home. I don't know anything different, and I've always asked myself why I never went anywhere, or why, there's all these opportunities, but I always stayed there. And I think now that God has showed me that answer as clear as it can, because we need people here to be a messenger, and we have a huge task ahead of us, and it's going to take all of us. It takes a village. But the morning of the storm on September 27th, it was actually my wife and I's 22nd wedding anniversary, the day before. So we were celebrating that weekend. And we had thought about going somewhere, but I think she had a motherly instinct. Our daughter was staying where she was talking about, on the top of the mountain. And mudslides hit that place like crazy. But we were kind of naive. The morning of the storm, we were outside picking up sticks. If you've been to the mountains, you've lived in the mountains all your life, we've had hurricanes, flooded basements, some trees down. That's kind of what we were expecting. So we got out after the storm. It was heavy, but in our little holler, as we call it, we went outside and we started picking up sticks, just naive. We didn't know what was going on all around us in the devastation. I had a neighbor that came up the road, and he just had this hollow look on his face, this blank stare. And he said, "Jason, everything is gone." And I thought, what do you mean it's gone? Everything. So then my wife and I kind of started getting together, and was going to go head down the road to see what it was. And as we started down the road, our first encounter, and this was just a half a mile away, we met a lady on her knees. She was on her knees crying as she had just watched her loved one get swept away. This was 30 minutes prior. She obviously was hysteric, didn't know what she was doing, her next step, anything about what was ahead of her. But that was the case everywhere that we went within that mile. I had a neighbor that pulled out 12 bodies that had came down the river, and it was just kind of collecting like a dam. So it was everywhere, and it was so widespread. And I think it took us a day or two, because you're working in certain little areas at a time, and there was no internet, no power. Asheville was cut off from the outside world. We were just in our own bubble. Really, nobody could come help. We had AM, FM radio, which was a lifesaver. But as time went on, we kind of started realizing, okay, this is bad. This is something different. This isn't basement flooding. This isn't a few trees down. This is devastation. So a group of friends and I, we tell you this part. We have a little concert venue. I have a business called Trinity Farms, and then we have a concert venue in Black Mountain that is great for the community. So we had got a few people together, and we had just set up a little tent outside, and we were just having people come and bring donations and bring supplies, any kind of supplies that they could. At the time, you couldn't get into Asheville, so this was just locals. We were taking paper towels. We were taking 4 or 5 diapers, formula, whatever we could get from the community in the town. But as the time went on and we started getting a little bit of access, people came from all over the world. It was a movement in the Shenandoah Valley with Valley Strong Disaster Relief and all across the United States. I see so many people in here that have came and volunteered and been there for us, and it was humanity at its finest. It was people saving people. There was no government involved. This was people there for people. The only way that I can really describe it would be kind of like 9/11, the day after 9/11. The whole world was so united. Everybody was just, it was all about humanity. And that's what we've noticed or saw at Valley Strong Disaster Relief. It's been the most unbelievable, mind-blowing thing that I've ever seen. We've had people come from all 50 states. We've had 5 countries showing up for humanity. But the morning that we were going down, I was going down the road, there's a guy right here. His name's Billy Ricketts. He's one of my best friends in the world. He's a Purple Heart Marine. He's he's a hero, and he's a hero to a lot of us. And the morning that he came up the road, he came to check on us. Billy had lost his house. He lost everything. His whole basement flooded. A tree came through his roof. Everything was gone. But what Billy did was he got together with some more special forces that came, it's called Savage Freedoms, that came to the Harley-Davidson shop. And Billy was doing recovering his own community for 3 weeks. While his house was gone, he had no power, no house. He was still living in the house for a little while. I didn't even know for about 2 days that this had happened to Billy because he wouldn't tell anybody. But I want you to come up here for just a second, man. This is Billy Ricketts. I just want you to hear a little bit of his story and what he did. I've got a few more minutes, so I'm going to give him about a minute.
Yeah, it's just I've known Jason for a few years now, and you know, everybody talks about mental health struggles and stuff within the community, things like that, and he's just been a godsend because you know, he you know, a large influence in the community, and with his business and social media following. And I realized that because he had that following, he would be able to reach enough people on his social media profile in order to get help and aid out here. And we were also able to get the helicopters situated for
Savage Freedom.
Yeah, for Savage Freedoms. And I knew Oliver Anthony was in town with him at the time, so he came and was a big help to get the notoriety and stuff and the word out there. And yeah, I was in the Marine Corps for 4 years, and that all transitioned over into this, you know. So
I think what we saw with Billy was in his element at that time, and it wasn't about anything else going. It wasn't about Billy. It was Billy coming for his community, and there are so many people that have done that all over the world, coming to help other people whenever they've had the troubles of their own. So with Valley Strong Disaster Relief, we had the hub, and we had people like Billy and you guys showing up and just being there for our whole community. And we ran that hub for 5 straight months. We had a Christmas for everyone in our community. They could just come, and we asked no questions. You just came and got exactly what you wanted, when you wanted. And this went on for 5 straight months. But now we have shut the hub down, and we're headed on to phase 2. And our long-term goal with Valley Strong Disaster Relief, just like these guys, it's going to be to rebuild the community. And eat the elephant one bite at a time. Whenever you go and you look around, it's devastation, it's disaster. There is not a spot that you can see that doesn't, along the rivers, that just doesn't look like anything you've ever seen in your life. And it's so hard to explain unless you've been there. But what we plan on doing with Valley Strong is we want to start, we're going to work with some kind of low income, I guess. We're going to help elderly people that were on fixed incomes. We're wanting to build back houses, as many as we can. We're going to do some mobile homes, some double wides. We're going to do some rebuild. The problem that we had in Swannanoa was most of the people were not in a floodplain. So most of the people did not have flood insurance. So in my mind, my naive mind, I thought, okay, whenever floods like this happen, government's going to come in. We give them all this money. Why would they not fix it? Why would they not just? That's always how I thought that worked. But it's not the case at all. Most of the people that were affected didn't have flood insurance, and even if they had flood insurance, they weren't getting the help that you would think that it would require. So it's on us. It's on the people, just like it was from the first hour number 0 of the storm when the people were bringing in the food. Now the people have to supply the rebuild because we are on our own. And I think that's what we're all working together with nonprofits like this. These guys have been amazing. And I just met them yesterday. And if you guys came up and you give them every bit of the money, I wouldn't care. Because I know they're going to do it right, and I know what it's all grassroots organizations coming together to help our neighbors. And that's what we're going to continue to do every single day. Us at Valley Strong Disaster Relief, we have no overhead. We're volunteers also, just like they are. We have full-time jobs. I have a business. My wife has, her business, and we work together. But now we're 50, 60, 70 hours a week doing this. Somehow I have employees, so it allows me to go out in the community and get stories and help people. And you just sit down and you hear some of these stories and you think every day, okay, this is the worst one. This was the worst story that you would think you would hear that story one time in your life, but you hear them every single day. There is another story everywhere you turn with people that were just up to their neck in water. They were families saving each other, and right now they don't know their next step. They're relying on people like us, grassroots organizations, to come and help their neighbors. And one thing that I've learned in this disaster, and I had no idea that I would ever be running a 501c. That was the last thing that was on my mind ever, that this is what I would be up doing. But what I've learned in this is whenever disasters happen, you want to work with your local nonprofits. If I leave saying anything, if something happens here tomorrow or something happens in your community, go with the local nonprofit. And it doesn't have to be somebody that's been doing it for 30 years. The people have this firsthand experience. Whenever this happened, you learn really quick, and the caring instinct is what's going to lead you through, and that's what's going to guide you. If you give to the big nonprofits, which there's nothing in the world wrong with them, I know they got good hearts too, but they're ready for the next disaster every time. So when people pour in and they give like they were given to Swannanoa, and those big organizations are ready to go to the next disaster. So wherever that money goes, we don't know. So that's why I'm got a huge heart now for people like Fairview and Valley Strong, Valley Hope. There's so many good people, and I don't care where you donate. Just donate to these local nonprofits, because that's the only thing that's going to make the difference in the long term. We're looking, I see a lot of these numbers, and they're not right. the numbers are just not right. And I'm not saying that what you put up's not right. They're just that it's so much bigger. It's so much bigger than what we're being shown and what we're being told. I don't know what $70 billion looks like, but I can promise you, you could throw $100 million in one, just like throwing pepper up in the air. Like you just can't, it just seems almost unfathomable to fix. So where we're going to come up with this, I have no idea. But like we said, we're going to eat the elephant one bite at a time. We're going to get up every single day, and we're going to keep moving forward. We're Appalachians, and if you know any Appalachians, you know that we are stubborn. I think our region is the toughest region in the world. I don't think there's a whole lot that can compare. You talk to your grandparents all the time, and you hear about their stories and their hard times, but they come through them because they're resilient. And every day that we're going to keep moving forward, we're going to keep pushing forward, and just like our grandparents before us, we're going to keep on fighting, and we were made for times such as these. But I just want to thank you guys for doing this and allowing us to be here. I'm so grateful. I'm grateful for community and little grassroots organizations all over Western North Carolina, and you guys coming out, it means the world. So I appreciate you letting me get up here and ramble. I just wanted to tell a little bit of our story, but thank you guys so much. I am so sorry. I got Sam Burleson coming up here next.
Good evening and welcome. When this week began, hardly anyone was talking about a storm named Helene.
We could be looking at a major flood event. The flooding could be catastrophic.
We weren't prepared for the severity.
Good evening and welcome. When this week began, hardly anyone was talking about a storm named Helene.
We could be looking at a major flood event. The flooding could be catastrophic.
We weren't prepared for the severity of the storm at all.
Meaningful might be an understatement. Here at the Village at Covenant Community in Asheville, these 4 showers are the only option for those who've lost everything.
It's better than not having anything or using baby wipes because, we have had to do that.
It's a whole new way of life now for Alicia Billings as she cranks up the generator that powers her RV. It's where she and her son live now, since losing their 2-bedroom home.
See, the power was out, took out the septic system. So it's just, FEMA did deem it unsafe to live in.
But for the mom of 4 who couldn't get in touch with her kids during the storm, material things were the least of her worries.
It was really scary not knowing if any of them were okay, I mean, one of my children had to swim out. Another one saw, people drown, and it was, so that puts a toll on a mom too, to know your kids are going through that.
What helps ease her mind is knowing they now have a safe place to stay. Their RV is parked in the grass at Covenant Community Church.
I am very proud of our church to know that we are putting boots to the ground and helping where we can. Has been just a huge blessing for us to know that there is a need and we're going to do what we're called to do.
Right after the hurricane, Covenant opened its property for people to park RVs. Now it's turned into a community of 20 RVs with plans to soon have roads, sewer, water, and power lines.
The church is not Sunday morning. The church is what the church does Monday through Saturday. It's about being there for people, helping them in difficult times and in good times.
Whether it's kindness from church members in a once empty lot, or from volunteers eagerly making showers in a warehouse.
I'm not looking for gratitude. That's not why we do things like this. I just want to know that somebody got clean at the end of the day.
The people of Western Carolina have a lot of support as they head down the long rebuilding road. For Carolina Impact, I'm Dara Khalid.
The misconception that came immediately is that all of our children in Western North Carolina were just running around naked. At least that's what I would assume with the amount of clothes that we received day after day after day without ever asking for them, right? There are these assumptions that were awry. And what I want to do tonight in my time is to try and address some of the things that the storm actually did take, not just from a few of us, but from all of us. And these are important because these are the things that we still wrestle down in the long-term recovery process. The storm didn't just take some homes, didn't just take some electricity, didn't just take the water from some. The storm was the thing that reoriented our sense of dignity. It stripped so many of dignity. Day after day, as I found individuals coming into our distribution center asking for something with a handout in a space where they had never had to do that before. The storm stripped our community of its peace, and in its wake, it left us all with anxiety. To a place where church members who would come every single week, surrounded by others, would feel comfortable in that space. Some of them would even lead from the stage. Now we're fearful of entering rooms. And it filled our hearts with anxiety. And the storm, what we ended up discovering, is that it took something from every single one of us. Yes, some of us lost family members in the storm, and it was easy for us to sit back and be like, oh, they lost, I'm in such a better spot. But the truth is every single one of us, everyone you've heard tonight, everyone who's been a part of Western North Carolina, has all lost something. And that's why at the Village, we've chosen to embrace 3 different values. As we proceed through our process, whether it's distribution or whether it's dealing with displacement, we've chosen to uphold dignity at every turn. We've chosen to create spaces that reduce anxiety, and we've chosen to embrace mutuality every single day, to live into that reality. Now, in the very beginning stages of our journey, that journey started with trying to figure out how to do those 3 things in the context of distribution. That's the most immediate need that was there. That's how we were responding. Our sanctuary filled up mysteriously in about 48 hours. I have no idea where the stuff came from. I think these guys would attest to the same reality. We have no clue where things came from, and in an environment where we had no outside communication, we still are not sure where it came from, right? We'd love to send you a thank you note if it was you all. Thanks. I'll just say that right now. But we got no clue, right? And so the most immediate need was how we would deal with all the supplies that were coming in. But we started asking the questions very early on, how do we, in this space, uphold the dignity of every individual who comes through this space? How do we reduce their anxiety when they're coming into this space? And how do we together embrace mutuality? Because it's mutuality that leads to healing. And pretty quickly, we started seeing that the distribution in our area shifted, and as it started shifting, we started shifting our focus. And the reason that we shifted our focus in those immediate spaces from distribution to handling the problem of displacement is because one day I ran across a report that came out of the Buncombe County Emergency Management Center that said that prior to Hurricane Helene, there were 254 children in our area who were homeless. The state and federal classification for that is McKinney-Vento. We had 254 McKinney-Vento children. In the immediate wake of the storm, they had identified that that number went from 254 to 754. And within 4 weeks after that, as they kept looking and searching and trying to figure out where people were, that number had gone to 1,236. 1,236 children in our Buncombe County school systems. That's not including the Asheville City school systems. That's not including homeschoolers, private schools, charter schools. That's just Buncombe County students. 1,236 without homes. And that was the ticket right there for us. We knew that in that moment we had to respond to that particular need, and so that's where the village concept was born. A place where we could uphold dignity, reduce anxiety, embrace mutuality, and we created a space where we will, hopefully in the next month, be completed with 36 camping units where folks can come and live in a dignified space. They don't have to go and find the bathroom down the road. They don't have to do what they're doing right now, either go to our shower trailer or drive all the way to the Owen Pool to get a shower. They'll have a shower in their own space. They'll have their own privacy, a space where they can heal and they can find meaning for their lives and for their children's lives. But the story really for us doesn't stop with what it means to house someone who's displaced. The story moves from just physical security to mental security. That's where we are now. If you want to know where we are in Western North Carolina right now, here's where we are. Statistics tell us that from 6 months to 1 year, that the suicide rate in a post-storm environment goes up by 18.6%. We lost 42, just recorded. Now, I know there's more than that, but we lost just 42 who we can name. Last year, we lost 40-something to suicide. Next year, that number will increase by 18.6%. In year 2, that percentage will go up 60.5% more. That's where we are. This is the impact of long-term recovery, not only for those who were immediately affected by it, but for those who continue to work in it day after day, laboring long, hard hours. And so as we look to the future of the village, we not only want to create a space of physical security, but we're starting to ask the question, how can we address the mental health crisis that is right at our front steps? And so by the end of the year, we hope to have already moved in 2 full-time counselors into our area who will be able to provide mental health services regardless of ability to pay. We will partner with an organization called Blue Ridge Hope, who's already applying for a Red Cross grant to provide these services in our county. Those services will be provided not only for our village families, but for the relief workers who come around us. And then, since we're physically located next to the largest high school in the community, they will be adjacent counselors for the students who attend both A.C. Reynolds High School and A.C. Reynolds Middle School. And we'll be able to continue to address that problem as we go forward. You know, in a space like this, and I think this has already been addressed in a beautiful way, we don't need people to come in and be our savior, right? I at least think I got a savior. I'm good. We need partners, though. We do need partners who will consistently come beside us and walk with us, and that's why, as I think about what it means to extend an invitation to come alongside of us, it's really easy, because partnership actually is one of the most life-giving things you can participate in. Bob Riggs, who had come to our site, he stayed with us, he volunteered, he went over to Valley Strong, he's been all over doing some stuff. He said something in the car last night that I will never forget. He goes, I went back home and I told everybody after serving there, I felt bad that I felt so good after serving. And my response is, you know, I thought about that for a while. My response is, no, that's part of it. Like, there is a way in which when we partner together, we heal together, and it is good for us in general. And so the invitation to give tonight is an important one for all of us. The invitation that I've often outlined for people around me is just to say yes, right? We have been able to do what we're able to do here in the village because people have said yes. And yes is one of the most powerful words that you can say. And so I hope you'll choose to say yes. And whatever that looks like tonight, I hope you will say yes to partnership financially. I hope you'll say yes to coming up and being with us and getting into one of these grassroots organizations and digging in that space. I hope you'll say yes. You know, we have constant needs that are arising for us. At this point in the game for us, all the contractors are finally turning in their bills to us. And those bills look a lot bigger than when they first proposed those bills to us. So a contractor turned it in, and our bill doubled when they turned in their bill. And so now we're like, okay, how are we going to get all the funds together for that? I know it'll happen. I know there's generosity out there. But that's a reality that is constantly in front of us. But before I leave tonight, I just want to introduce you to one person who has said yes. And this person has said yes over and over and over again. And most often, this person is saying yes on that John Deere tractor right there. And so I just want Dave to tell you the power of saying yes in his life as you consider what it means to say yes in your life. Dave, would you come up just real quickly?
Sam asked me to talk tonight, so I put together a few notes.
I did not say that.
I want to clarify one thing. When there's a disaster like we've experienced with Helene, whether it's Katrina or whatever, the people doing the work, there's 3 R's that they go through. There's 3 stages. The first stage is rescue, search and rescue. The second stage is relief, and the third stage is recovery. What's important to understand the scope is that each of those levels has a multiplier of 10. In the case of Helene, the rescue efforts took approximately 35 days. And we saw here still maybe as many as 150 still unaccounted for. So the next stage of relief is a multiple of 10, or 350 days. The recovery is another multiplier of 10, which is 3,500 days. Okay? So to put that in perspective, as we stand here today, we're only halfway through the relief period. And we're only 6 months into a 10-year recovery. This isn't something that is just getting swept under the carpet. It takes time. It takes people like you, okay? When Sam asked me to share about what this meant to my life, I had the opportunity to retire 2 years ago. I'm a 41-year automotive mechanical engineer that grew up on a big farm, and I have gone back to farming, and I have a you-pick berry farm in Candler. And I always said to my colleagues when I was working that I couldn't wait till I retired so that I could do outreach mission work. Be careful what you ask for. So Sam came to me and shared with his vision about the village. And one of the challenges that you have in something like this is these campers have this tank called black water, and another tank called gray water, and another tank called fresh water. Those all have to be changed and filled on a regular basis. So we went together, and I put together and designed a honey wagon that has a 100-gallon black and gray water tank and a 100-gallon freshwater tank, and every week on Wednesday or Thursday, depending on the weather, we'd go around and pump all the black and the gray out, fill up the fresh water. Oh, but by the way, the generators that run the electrical, they can only run 100 hours before the crankcase oil needs to be changed. So every week we also have to change the oil in the crankcase. And oh, by the way, they need propane tanks replenished. And the list goes on and on. So there's gasoline, there's oil, there's all kinds of things to take care of these folks. So one of the things I wanted to share is that not only Dave, but each and every one of you have been blessed with a talent. Each one of you can help in your own way that God has blessed you with. Whether that has been financially or mechanically or lovingly, there's things that you can do, even if it's no more than praying, okay? As you give of these talents, God blesses us in return. One of those is a blessing of relationships. There's blessings of hope. And there's blessings of healing. And we have to do it together. Can't do it by ourselves. Can't do it ourselves. It's contagious. I told somebody one time, I said, these tears are just the Holy Spirit, and I'm full to the top and I'm leaking. This is just one family that has 6 children in one camper. They call me Mr. Dave. Every Saturday, I take donuts to all the kids. Every week when I pump out their trailer, I invite them to church. The Sunday after Ash Wednesday, they said that they would be there. That Sunday morning, I got a text from their dad. Because of the heavy rain that we got that Saturday night, they couldn't walk because of the mud to get to the church. I said, you're going to have to come up with a better excuse than that. So I got the John Deere, and I loaded it up, and I made 3 trips across the muddy lot to bring them to church.
That is the power of yes. You get a ride in the John Deere tractor. This time is Donna here? Oh, there we are. I'd like to invite Donna to come from the Rotary Club of Asheville. They have been already an incredible partner for us as they did a great propane exchange in Asheville at Covenant. So can you welcome her this evening?
Thank you all. I think this, there we go. I'm going to change gears just a little bit, and thank you all for your attention. You've been with us for so long tonight. Just want to tell you a little bit about Rotary and what Rotary has done in partnership with many organizations, the Rotary Club of Asheville and other Rotarians in Western North Carolina. And then you have your own Rotary Club here in Hilton Head. We have decided to swap our time. So Joe Chappelle is going to come afterwards and share a little bit of the Rotary Club of Hilton Head and what they're doing. Rotary is a service organization that's over 115 years old. It has 1.1 million members in over 200 countries. And we come together with our motto, which is service above self. And we have a vision statement, which is together we see a world where people unite and take action to create lasting change around the globe, in our communities, and in ourselves. And one of the ways that Rotarians also look at the world and what we try to do is we ask ourselves, of the things that we think, say, and do, first, is it the truth? Second, will it be fair to all concerned? Third, will it build goodwill and better friendships? And fourth, will it be beneficial to all concerned? And you think about those questions. If you ask yourself those questions before you go about doing something, it's going to keep you from going down the wrong road. As you've heard before, all of us were cut off without power. Our worlds looked different, and we connected with our own communities. However, I have a daughter with 2 children who lived at the end of Lynn Cove Road up a mountain, and to know that I couldn't reach them or be in touch with them for a couple days was just devastating, because we just didn't know what had happened. When I finally found that a neighbor actually had a Skylink and we were able to connect, we figured out a way to hike up to their house, which was devastated on top of a mountain. And this picture is out their kitchen window. The trees fell within 3 feet of the house, and that's their car, if you see that black spot. So devastation comes in many, many ways. We didn't have flooding, but this is tornadic wind and what it does if you look at the mountain, and this has happened in lots of areas. You can see where the wind just tore off the trees and just splintered them. So while your Rotary Club and others were coming into the community, many of us who live there were just trying to figure out, as has been said, what on earth can we do? So one of the first things that happened in our club as Rotarians, we were able to receive some propane tanks and also heaters, and I believe we worked with the Hilton Head Club to figure out a place to put those that they could be distributed. So Rotarians from our club showed up to help with that. And we found that we could work with Beloved Asheville, which had set up an emergency distribution site. They already had a distribution site, but they worked with Highland Brewing and created a larger place, warehouse, to collect. And they had the forklifts and everything needed in order to be able to get offload trailers and then load it into their truck. And their trucks went to Fairview. Their trucks went to Madison County. Their trucks went to Mitchell County, Yancey County, and so it was really kind of cool to be part of helping to collect and then helping to distribute. This is a picture of our work the day with Covenant Community Church. There was a propane swap of propane tanks, but they needed volunteers to come in and help with that whole process. So our club mobilized, and I can say it was a day that we thought it was going to rain or sleet or snow, and it all held off. It was a lovely day. And we also Rotary also has a youth program called Rotaract, and that day our high school students showed up en masse, and they helped as well. And this was the food or the clothing distribution that just sort of miraculously was there. People showed up with, as you all have said, people just showed up. They heard there was going to be this, but they needed more people to help, and we were there to be the hands and feet. Another project that we did was working as a district, because you saw the map of all the area that was affected. Well, we decided to do a district-wide project. We were able to leverage got $25,000 of donations from our local clubs, and then leverage that with a $25,000 grant from our district. Got another $25,000 grant from our zone, and another $25,000 grant from Rotary International. And that's the power of Rotary, is all these clubs and organizations donate together, so that we were able to leverage it for a $100,000 donation to help build Blue Ridge Assembly, which is a YMCA camp that was devastated with mudslides. They lost many, many buildings. At one point in time, they told us that there were 24 cars and trucks that were in their swimming pool, that had in their swimming pool. So the reason I took this picture is Rotarians from Georgia came with their disaster relief crew, and they came and spent a week helping with this project that we designed to help rebuild a dining hall. And what I love about this picture is this woman is at least my age, and she can really hang sheetrock. She was a master at it. We spent one weekend tearing the sheetrock out where it had flooded and with mud and everything else, and taking out the ceiling tile. The next week they put more sheetrock up. And for those of us that aren't very skilled, you can paint. So we have that project just about done, and we're pretty grateful to be able to work with others on that. This was one of the beautiful things about Rotary, is the fellowship that comes from working together. Afterwards, we had between our shifts, we would have a meal together, and it helps us learn about others. That connection, Rotary is about connection and relationships, as well as serving others. And that was just in their chapel. This was going to be a video that I was hoping to be able to share with you. However, we've had some technical issues. One of the projects that we did for 3 days, we worked with our local Habitat for Humanity and built skirting around the trailers to help protect them from wind and weather and everything like that, and make them more secure. So as I'm looking at y'all, I'm hoping that we'll connect. You'll connect with the Rotary Club of Asheville and the other Rotary clubs in the area, because we can be your volunteers. We can be your hands and feet, and we'd love to work with you. Oh, so you've heard about the Swannanoa River. This was 2 weeks ago. We went to help some members of our club with cleanup along the river. It was a retirement community, townhomes, and people living in their final home. This is where my view is. Where I am across the way, you see these buildings. Well, on either side of those buildings, there was another building. Only that building is gone, and it was washed away. So, and you can see in that picture, they've been going through the river with excavators and everything, and there's a truck that you can see that they've pulled out of the river. So it's still going on. This is just 2 weeks ago. But here are members of our club. We're sifting through the debris, trying to find mementos, and also trying to clean it up, because homeowners association dues are going to be what has to cover this whole cleanup. And that was the swimming pool, the community swimming pool. There was a clubhouse, but it's gone. And these are people who are my age and older, that this was their home, and they're not stable. Samaritan's Purse has come in and ripped out some of the flooded areas, but my friend from our club who lives there, her foundation is totally messed up, so she doesn't know what she's going to be able to do. This is the list of organizations and the money that has been contributed to the Rotary Club of Asheville so far since Helene. And I'm proud to say that we have not only been able to, give it to local organizations, but we've been able to partner and leverage some of that money through district grants so that a $10,000 donation turns into a $20,000 donation. So we have more money to give, and the more money we collect, the more money we give, but working locally with other partners. And finally, if we could play this video, this is from our president, Eva Michelle Spicer, had a message for you. Tom?
The Rotary Club of Asheville. Hi, I'm Eva Michelle Spicer. I am honored to be the current president of the Rotary Club of Asheville. I just wanted to show you where we still are in Western North Carolina after 6 months. It's been over 6 months since Hurricane Helene ravaged through our entire region. I'm here in the River Arts District, where hundreds of artists and businesses have had their lives and livelihoods completely uprooted. And it still looks like this after 6 months. So we are so grateful to have your continued support. Thank you for not forgetting about Western North Carolina. We are in this for the long haul, and we're grateful for everything that you're doing for our community.
Effort, and we wish we could have been, more people could have been here to be here with you tonight. And then with that, I'd like to invite Joe Chappelle from the Rotary Club of Hilton Head to come up.
I think I'm batting cleanup here. What I'd like to do, I've got a report which I came in with at the last moment, so it's going to take a moment to bring it up. But I'd like to share a little bit of a story about Rotary and our role in this, this overall project. And it starts actually well before Helene. Several years ago, when Hurricane Ian hit down in Louisiana, several of us at the Rotary Club here, and there are 4 Rotary clubs locally, Bluffton, 3 on Hilton Head. We cover all 3 meals. You can have breakfast, lunch, or dinner, and hang out with Rotarians. But with Ida, when Ida hit in Louisiana, we had a number of people that had connections down there, and they reached out to us and said, if there's anything you can do, we'd really like some help. And so a number of our members got together and then started reaching out to other Rotary clubs, and were able to send down a number of tractor trailers full of goods, primarily reconstruction goods, because that was the issue. We included stoves and some bedding and such, but a lot of it was, by the time we got involved, was more about the reconstruction, getting homes to where they were livable. When Ian hit in Southwest Florida, we pretty much had a plan already. We had a playbook, if you will, of how to react. And so we were able to jump in pretty quickly. In fact, we reached out immediately to the district in Southwest Florida and said, how can we help? And the response was, we have no idea what we're doing. And you know, we're just looking at this, and this is the day after. And we put them in touch with the district leadership in Louisiana and said, they've got a playbook for the recovery. Talk to them, and they connected, and all of a sudden the people from Louisiana got involved. In the meantime, we started rallying here, and we were able to get a lot of support from the local community. And again, we were able to send down things that were needed, and by the time we were getting them into Fort Myers area, they had taken over an old building supply building that had been emptied and they were already set up for distribution because they had a model that was brought down to them from Louisiana. The thing we like about, and one of the magical things about Rotary is that when people wonder about how can I help, and will my donations go to people that really need it, the benefit of Rotary is that we work with Rotarians on the ground in the areas that are impacted. So to fast forward to Helene for a moment, as soon as this happened, we reached out to the district governor, who happens to live in Marshall, whose business was flooded and destroyed, and reached out and said, okay, we're here to help. And she said, well, give us a couple days. A couple days later, I got a call from a gentleman who is one of the leadership there that is a retired colonel in supply chain. And he said, we're getting a supply center set up, and we're going to be prepared to receive things pretty quickly. We'll start putting together our wish list. And he said, don't bring water. He said, you know, that was one of the things that we had learned, is that water is one of the first things that shows up in mass, and it's the other things that became important. So what I'd like to do is just walk through a report that I did that just summarizes some of the things that we were able to, and when I say we, the Rotary Club of Hilton Head, or Rotary Clubs of Hilton Head, along with the district that runs the eastern half of South Carolina, is we're able to provide a way for people here and for friends and family to be able to donate, knowing that what they donated was going directly into Western North Carolina. No stops, no overhead, you know, and that it was things that were needed. And so I'll walk through and talk about this. I'm going to test and see if my clicker is working. That U-Haul truck is a picture of U-Haul at Honeyhorn. We set up collection points all around the Lowcountry, at Pinnacle Banks, at different locations, at Coastal Discovery Museum, at South State, at the Island Rec Center, for people to be able to bring their donations and make it easy for people to just continue to drop them off. We'd gather them around, and then we'd take them up in these 26-footers. So just to give you an idea of what we're able to do with the generosity of our community is we were able to deliver 84 generators ranging from anywhere from $4,000 to $10,000. A lot of equipment, and it went up very quickly, and we were able to get it into organizations that were able to get it out to people very quickly. And so, for example, one of our first shipments went up to the Burnsville Fire Department, where the generators that we were delivering were going onto helicopters to get out to families that were stranded and didn't have a way to get out. We delivered generators to the South Asheville Rotary Club that came off of a big truck and went into individual SUVs and pickups that were going out to people that had already been identified that needed generators. And with each of those generators was a gas can and an extension cord to keep it out of the house and safe. We donated a bunch of chainsaws. We donated 400 heaters in different shipments that went up to different organizations, including the Asheville Rotary Club, to be able to get out to the people that needed them to stay warm. And I'll go through lots of other things that went up. All of this was possible because people in the Hilton Head community, the Lowcountry community, trusted us to basically get that stuff collected, to buy a lot of the things that we bought. So those trucks, most of the trucks that we went up with were not filled with these items. They were filled with items that were donated, primarily food, tools, those kinds of things, because most of the big items we shipped up in big trucks. We also, as we went, asked the different organizations, what is it that you really need? This is a building that was built up in Marshall for the fire department because their structure was just taken down, and they were storing all of their equipment in a tarped lean-to. And so we bought and assembled this building with the help of the Marshall Rotary Club on site for them to be able to store their equipment safely and keep it ready for winter. We also provided 2 other buildings like this that went to 2 other EMS locations that lost their buildings. This is a group in Franklin that very early on was asking for blankets and stoves and such, and this was a delivery that went to them that they then were taking up into the mountains. A lot of stuff went up, and we had the easy part. You know, we basically had to collect it, to buy it, and just find partner organizations that could get it to the people in need. The locations that are listed here, the South Asheville Rotary Club became a distribution point for us, Burnsville Fire Department, the District 7670 Cross Dock in Marion, which is a big logistics center set up by the National Guard. Yeah, I'll get that. With Lake Lure, this actually, the picture there is items that were being delivered in from Florida because that was as close as we could find them. And they came up in horse trailers for delivery in Lake Lure. So Marshall, Swannanoa. And then we have been working with America Cares to get food out to people. And in fact, we just sent another $20,000 donation up to America Cares for their fresh food program because there are still lots of encampments that they're sending food out to on a weekly basis. And we're also working with Beloved and then Franklin Rotary. So I think the important part of this is that when we look at it, and I'm going to go forward for a moment, that was Burnsville Fire Department in the upper left, where those generators very quickly went onto helicopters to get out. That's South Asheville Rotary. And that Rotary likes trailers. You might have noticed the other one from Georgia. But that little trailer, that little 14-foot trailer made a lot of trips up to western North Carolina with items. We collected in total over $140,000 in donations. We collected also or had donated as part of this another $35,000 or so that went directly to purchases in support of in particular, generators and heaters that went up. And we have continued to get donations trickling in that we are sending out. So everything that comes in, by the way, we set up several years ago as a result of one of our efforts, a 501c3 that allows us to be able to process donations. Everything that came in and has come into our Rotary Club since Helene hit has been earmarked for Western North Carolina. And so we're at this point, we're about 180,000 in and 180,000 out. All right, and that is the slide presentation. So I don't have a sad story. I've been up there a number of times on trips. I am amazed at the resilience and the willingness of people to come in from all over the place to help. And I've been very proud of our community, of the generosity that people have shown and the willingness to keep contributing even after the news stories have ended. So we are with you, and we'll continue to do whatever we can here to be able to channel goodwill your direction.
Okay, with that, everybody, that concludes the main part of our event tonight that's here in the sanctuary. We want to thank you again for coming and listening to all the stories, and especially we'd like to thank our charitable organization speakers. They did a wonderful job, so nice job, folks. Okay. We'd like to invite you all now over to the fellowship hall, which is out the doors here. You go down the breezeway, and it's the building that will be right in front of you. There will be refreshments there, and also we'll have a meet and greet with all the speakers here. So, you know, we'd encourage you to interact with the speakers, ask whatever questions you may have to find out more about the great work they do. So thanks again very much for coming.
We stayed up to 3 watching the news, and the power went out, so we're like, so I checked through the flashlight, and I'm like, well, it's starting to crown, which I'm like, we're okay. Been here 32 years, nothing. So I went to bed and woke up at 7, and I got up, and so I'm like, well, this ain't good. The water